Hey everyone, welcome back into another exciting Algebra 2 class. Today we are going to divide polynomials. Last class we added, we subtracted, and we multiplied all in one lesson. And this time we're going to just divide, okay? So just one concept for you, but it is a fairly complex concept, so it'll take us a little bit of time to get through. So a couple different things. If we divide a polynomial by a monomial, and this one is one that you've done before and you haven't had any real trouble with. And let's go ahead and go over that. So if I have 16x to the fourth, we are on page, if you're wondering, we're on page 16 in your book, plus 8x cubed minus 12x squared. And we're going to divide that whole thing, that's what that bar means, that fraction bar means to divide, by 2x. Well, if you'd remember this from last year, from Algebra 1, I said one way that you could do this is divide it up into 3 separate problems. And we're going to put the same denominator under all of those. And so we're going to solve this one, just reducing, and then we'll solve this one, and then we'll solve the last one. So let's go ahead and do the first one. 2 into 16, that's going to cancel to a 1. It's going to be an 8. This is going to cancel. Remember, that's a 1 there. And so that's going to cancel to a 1. And we're going to get x cubed up top. 1 times 1, we get 1 on the bottom. So here we get 8x cubed. And that's over 1, but we don't really need to put the over 1. That can be you can put it if you want to, but you don't need it. If the 1 is a denominator, you don't need it. And so now we have, this is going to be a positive, okay? So we're going to have a positive. We're going to cancel here. That's going to be a 1. That's going to go to a 4. And that's an x1, so we subtract, remember, and so this goes to an x squared, and that cancels out to a 1. Again, we have a 1 for denominator, 4x squared. Now we have a minus. Cancel 1, cancel 6. That's going to cancel down to an x1 or just x, and that cancels to a 1. So there's no denominator, and then you just have this up in the numerator. So it would be 8x cubed plus 4x squared minus 6 would be your answer. And you're just going to do each one of those separate. I think most of you understand that. Most of you from Algebra 1 have a good understanding of how that basic concept works right there. So I guess we'll call that as the easy part of today's lesson. So now what we're going to do, if you will, go ahead and turn in your book over to page number 17. What we're going to do now is we're going to kind of transition from dividing by a monomial, one term, to dividing by a binomial, 2 terms. And this is interesting here. So when we did baby math back in elementary, we learned how to divide. And you had, we'll use the example, 41 goes into 863. And what we would do, remember, is we'd say, okay, the first number here goes into this first number here how many times? Okay, it goes in 2 times. So we're going to try 2. And that's like an estimation, or we're saying we're dividing it in to find out how many times it goes. And remember, we did the first into the first. We didn't ever say, okay, 41 goes into 86 how many times? We said 4 goes into 8 how many times? And that's going to be important here in just a second. My camera is messing up just a little bit, so hang with me, okay? I think it's good now. All right, so we have 4 goes into 8 2 times, and then we just multiply, okay? And so we multiply 2, 8. You remember this? This is, elementary stuff. Now we subtract, and so we're going to get a 4. We're going to now bring down. We're going to get a 3. This process right here is the same process that we've been using for a long time. And so I want to review it with you. And so now we're going to go 4 into 4. That goes 1 time. 1 times 1 is 1, and that's a 4, 41. and we get a 2. So we get a remainder of 2, or we also wrote that 2 over 41, 2 over this. And those are different ways that we can write that. So that's baby math, all right? Now, I'm not your baby math teacher. You've already had baby math. You've already gone through arithmetic. You should know that. I was just reviewing that process with you. Why? Because this process is going to be the exact same. There's really no change at all to this process. Now what we want to do is we want to divide 8x squared plus 6x plus 3. We want to divide that by 4x plus 1. 4x plus 1. All right, so now we're going to go back to our our baby math steps. And what did we do? Well, in baby math, we did the first one into the first one. Let's try it again. Let's see if that works for us. All right, so we'll go 4x goes into 8x how many times? Or 8x squared. 4 goes into 8 2 times. Now, I'm going to write it over here, and I'm going to show you why I'm going to write it over there in just a second. So that goes in, and how many times? It goes x into x squared. It goes, and this is basically what we're doing is this. We're doing this. We just did this a second ago. Okay? And so we canceled this, and we got 1. We canceled this, and we got 2. We canceled this, and we got 1. We canceled this, and we got x. So up here we get an x. We're doing that process, and it just looks a little different how we're doing it. But the process is still the same. Okay, so there we go. And now we're going to come over here, and we are going. What did we do after we divided last time? Well, we multiplied. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply here. Okay, we're just going to multiply times each one separately. And like I said, I'm going to show you why I put the 2x over top of the 6x in just a second. So be patient. So I'm going to first of all multiply here. And that's going to give me times 1 is just going to give me 2x. And that's positivo. And then what we want to do is we want to multiply the 2x times the 4x. And that's going to give me 8x squared. Now, let me show you why I wrote that 2x above the 6x. Because we want to keep all the x squareds in one column. We want to keep all the x's in one column, and then we want to keep all of the no x's or just the numbers, the constant terms, in the other column. So this is going to be the x squareds, this is going to be the x's, and this is going to be the nothing or the constant term. Okay? And so we want to keep all those columns straight. So because this was just going to be an x, I put it above the x. I put it with the column it goes with. That is important. Very important, actually. Okay? All right. All right. So let's go ahead and go to this next one. And what's the next step in division? You remember? Yes, it's subtraction. And I'm trying to put the different steps in different colors and just kind of, so you can see what I'm doing next. And so we're just going to subtract. Well, this is interesting because technically this is what you're doing. Remember yesterday when we were subtracting, we had to distribute. Okay? And so we're going to do that same thing here. We're going to distribute this negative sign. So the negative sign is going to go here. And so this is going to be a negative 8x. And the negative sign is also going to go here. So we're going to get a negative 2. Okay, that's how we subtract in algebra. We change the sign of the second, and then we add. That's the rules of algebra subtraction. How do you subtract in algebra? Change the sign of the second and add. So that's what we're doing. And so here we go. 6 minus 2 gives me 4x. 8x squared minus 8x squared gives me cancel, gives me 0. You don't need to write the 0 there, it just cancels. Now, let me just tell you something. If you're doing this correctly, you will always get this term to cancel. It's just going to always cancel. Why? Because you put it up here, you divided it into it, and it just cancels every time. That's kind of the way that this works. Now what did we do in baby math? The next step was to bring down. I'm going to come over here to the side and I'm going to go through the steps. So the first step is to divide, and then we multiply, and then we subtract, and then we bring down. Okay? And so those are kind of our basic steps to division. And so that's what this is going to look like. And we're going to bring this down, and we're going to get positive 3 coming down. Okay? And then I'll go ahead and change to the next color for the next step. And this is basically we go back up to the top again. And so we're going to divide first one into first one. 4x goes into 4x how many times? 1 time. And it goes positive 1 time. 4x goes into 1 time, positive 1. Okay? And so now we're going to multiply times that gives me 1 positive. Here times that gives me 4x. And now I'm going to, the next step over here is to subtract. And so I'm going to subtract these. Remember, I changed the signs and I add. Well, what do I get here? 3 minus 1 gives me 2. 4x minus 4x cancels. Remember, I said that one's going to cancel every time. So I am left over with 2. What do I do with my remainder? I don't have anything else to bring down. Well, what did we do in baby math when we had a remainder? Well, what we did was we took it and we put it over top of the divisor. So I'm going to put my 2, and we can put a plus because that's a positive 2. Positive 2 over 4x plus 1. And that would be my answer right there. Okay. I'm just going to do one example on here, but I'm going to tell you just a couple other things that I want you to be aware of, but I'm just going to do that one example, and then I'll show you some other things that are pretty important. So if you look over here, let's put another one up, and I want to show you this. If I have x cubed plus x, well, let me do this. Let me move this over just a little bit. X cubed plus x plus minus 3 divided by x squared plus 1. Now, one thing that you have to get into your mind right now is that each exponent needs its own column. Okay? So x cubed needs its own column. We have a problem. There is no x squared column. There is no x squared. It doesn't have its own column. Okay? So we have an issue. This problem is not ready to divide. What we have to do is we have to add a 0, or what I'm going to call a placeholder, into that x squared column. If you don't do that, you're going to mess these up. So even here in the numerator, we don't have an x in this one. So look, it just goes from x squared to 1. We're missing the x. And so we have to put 2 space holders here. So let's put a space holder here, x squared, and you can put plus 0. It doesn't matter if you put plus 0 or minus 0. X. We need the x. We need the x column. Plus 1. And that's going to be divided into x cubed. We don't have an x squared column, so we need to create an x squared, 0x squared. Now, if you have 0 of something, there's nothing there. So really, this means nothing. This means 0. Why are you putting it in there? Because it's a space holder. You're just showing that there's a column there. And I promise you, if you don't do this, you're going to run into problems on this. It's going to like blow your mind trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. And then we have the x column, and then we would have the nothing column there at the end, or the constant column. I'm not going to take the time to go through that. If you have your book, you can look at that, how that one works out, but it works the exact same way. We'd go first into first, and I'll do the first little step. X goes into x cubed, or x squared goes into x cubed x times. In other words, this is what it looks like. X cubed divided by x squared. How does that work? You subtract and you get x over 1 or x. That's the value there. And so you would put the x up top and you would put it in the x column. The x has to go in the x column because this is the x cubed, this is the x squared, this is the x column. And so you make sure that you put it where it goes, and now you would distribute it to each one and then finish the problem that way. All right, so that's all I have for you today. If you had any confusion there, make sure you go back, just scroll it back and look. Make sure that you have something, have a space holder in every column, or else you're gonna get messed up there. Follow the basic steps of division from baby math, and I think that you're gonna find this is actually somewhat easy. Trust me. We do some of these, and you're going to just start going, oh, I get how to do that. That's no problem, because you know how to divide in baby math. And so this is not going to be that big of a difference for you. Just keep practicing. Keep trying these. Find ones to practice, and you will do just fine. Okay? All right. We'll see you later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.